All right, everybody. I think we're going to go ahead and get this started. It's great to see everybody's faces right now, but I think for recording purposes, it is better if we could have everybody go on mute and just turn your video off. I think it's just a little easier with the bandwidth. Michael and I will be staying on and just kind of running you through what this season is going to be looking like. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now, and we'll get probably a very familiar looking presentation going.
Hey, Bill, before we get started, we didn't discuss how we want people to ask questions. What do you think the best way to do that is?
I think the best thing is just to put questions in the chat, and we can either address them as they happen, or we'll definitely have some time at the end to go through.
Great, awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
This is the, there we go.
There we are, spring 2021. I don't write checks very often, and I had to write a check the other day, and I put 20, but luckily I could just continue it on to 2021, so no big deal. But yeah, new year here. Excited to get kids back out on the water. It's crazy how quickly things seem to be happening. So we will, yeah, we're going to be launching docks on Monday and then sailing just a week later. It's so awesome.
Is this my slide? I do the staff.
This is you.
Yeah, so just an overview for everybody. I know we, just to welcome everybody too, and if we haven't met before, either on Zoom or in person, my name's Michael McAllister. I'm the executive director here at SailMaine. Very fortunate to get to have that role. And the other people that you'll probably run into at SailMaine pretty frequently, our program director, Bill Marshall, is also hosting this event. There is Wave. And Jordan Parks, she's a key part of everything we do, from the back end of registration, website, marketing, social media. I think she has a big part to do with managing the dry suit program, and just a great part of the team. And then Sam Scribner, he's probably better known here for his illustrious work with the Portland high school team, but he also manages the fleet and facilities. And then Alicia Witham, who is the Yarmouth coach, is now on full-time with us, directing our adult programs and charter programs, and she's going to chime in kind of at the end about some offshore programming we're doing this year for the Monhegan race. So I think that's the overview of key staff. And we're going to go through all the coaches in a bit too here. But before we get to kind of checking in on the coaching staff, if you hadn't heard, one of our longest time members of our community, Dick Levesque, coach of the Falmouth team, passed away in January.
In January.
Yeah, January 20th, 27th, somewhere around there. So yeah, he's been a key member of our community. And if you were able to make it to the kind of celebration for his life a few weeks ago, I think you heard that he had a huge impact on a lot of people's lives. We're really going to miss him. I know just getting the season started, internally, we're saying, man, remember when Dick would be doing this while we were getting set up, or just we're missing his presence as we're getting ready to go.
But we are excited about the coaches that we have this spring. We've got a lot of returners, which is awesome. I will be back coaching the Cape Elizabeth team again this spring. Ryan Lovering has been with us for the last few years, teaching adult lessons. He is available I've been trying to convince him to work with the high school program for the last few years, and finally got him. So he's going to be coaching both the Cheverus and the Greeley teams. We've got Lucy coming back to coach the dev team again this spring, which is great. And Alden, who was an assistant coach last fall, is going to be pairing up with Lucy coaching the dev team. So really looking forward to that. Sierra was a Falmouth graduate, is now a college sailor. Longtime SailMaine person. She was a summer instructor for us a few years ago, and excited to have her around. She's taken some online classes this spring, so she's available to coach the team. We've got Sam Scribner, been here forever, coaching the Portland team. Bulldogs are our largest team, strongest team. They've been the culture they've got around that team is pretty fantastic. Wendy is back for another year with the Southern Maine team. I'm pretty excited to have her out on the water. She was leading the virtual program last spring and then got to actually meet her kids for the first time in person in the fall. And so I'm sure she's excited to get back out there this spring. And Alicia, who Michael was saying does a lot of our charters and adult program stuff, is back to coach the Yarmouth team again. We also have some great assistant coaches. Caleb Niles, Matt is joining us this spring, and Caleb Robinson is going to be coaching part-time for us as well, helping out with a few different teams. We also have some great parent coordinators that help out quite a bit. There's only so much that the coaches can do, so we really rely on the parents to just to help kind of manage carpools and communications. We used to have a lot of fun with potluck lunches at the Regattas. Unfortunately, we're not able to do that anymore, but that was a big role that the parent coordinators had, and just getting kids to Regattas and different things. But in the COVID world, the role of the parent coordinator is a little simpler, but we still definitely rely on them for quite a bit. So if you haven't had a chance to talk to the parent coordinator for your team, these are their names, and you can reach out to me for their direct contact info if you need. Michael, why don't you take it away here?
All right. Let's see. So season overview. All right. So it's right around the corner. Starting on March 22nd, I think Bill said we're launching the docs on Monday, this coming Monday, March 15th. We run until May 28th. Each team practices 3 days a week, basically from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. There are regattas on the weekends. Saturday are for kind of the more advanced sailors, team racing. Sunday, more beginner sailors for team and fleet racing. One thing that's very, a particular part of high school sailing in the spring is dry suits are required. And we have developed and have a growing rental program for dry suits. So I think a lot of people have already dealt with that, but if there's any questions, just reach out to Bill and he can help you sort through that. So yeah, I think that's
yeah, we've been Jordan Parks and I have been reaching out to everybody, trying to get people prepared for dry suits. So we're happy that we have the amount available to rent this year. Unfortunately, we don't have enough for everybody, but hopefully everybody has something lined up and is ready to go for the spring. So here's the practice schedule. Practice schedule often will change from season to season, depending on how big the teams are or the availability of a part-time coach or different activities that students at school have. But this year, I think been doing this since 2017. This is the first year that we've got back-to-back seasons with the same practice days for all of our teams, which is pretty awesome. So Cape Elizabeth will be out there on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Cheverus and Greeley, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Dev team, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Falmouth, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Portland, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. Southern Maine on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And Yarmouth, Monday, Tuesday, Friday. So having the variety of teams on the different days is kind of great. Like we often will pair up and do practices together, or we race against each other midweek. So it's pretty nice that we just get to sail against these different teams and work with different coaches depending on the day of the week that it is.
Yes, the history of high school sailing at SailMaine. This is my absolute favorite slide. I just love talking stories of the olden days, being an old man now. Um, but basically, we like to share some of this information just to give some context to how we got to this spot and how it's evolved, and we know it's going to still change. But this program started around 2003, the high school program. There was really no individual teams except Chevrolet had their own team. Pretty good. That group made it to nationals or the Mallory Cup. And then from 07 to 09, there were mostly shared coaches, but we started to get teams developing. And there was even a time where it was like a blue and orange practice. It wasn't JV or varsity, it was blue and orange. But anyways, there were a lot of mixing of the teams and everybody kind of sailed together. Athletic departments get more involved and increased interest, and then we get more schools. We've got a new fleet of boats in 2017. That made a big difference, I think, in terms of our numbers. We went from in the fall around 100 kids. In the last couple of years since we got this new fleet, we're closer to 125. Our junior program also increased over that time, so I think that's been feeding some of the high school program. Another highlight for us really was hosting the Baker Trophy in 2019. That was a really fun event, and a bunch of people on this helped support and run it, so we're thankful for your support there. And then last year we ran a virtual program, so another adaptation and different kind of model of this, but we're really looking forward to those cold spring days on the water, so no hiding behind Zoom this year. And I think this is one of my favorite photos too. If you've been to this meeting, you've heard me talk about it many times, but one of the things I really like about this is the whole thing. This is the whole group. We could do group photos. Everybody practiced on the same days, so this is everybody. And there's a couple college All-Americans in there, and a college sailor of the year, and then a lot of people still in the boating industry. So Maine is a good launching pad for sailing careers. Not just SailMaine, Maine in general. A lot of good sailors come out of Maine.
And this picture always reminds me that I'm so jealous. I can't believe that we've never gotten a group photo. Obviously, we can't do it this year, but as soon as we're able to be within 6 feet of each other and take our masks off, I would love to get 135 kids in the fall all gathered together to get a photo on the docks, or yeah, we'll get there.
Kevin doesn't have the right kind of lens for that. We gotta get him out.
Right. Yeah. So SailMaine is super unique. We are really lucky, and I think this year has shown that more than ever. So we have a ton of 420s. We have a huge program. Like Michael said, we've got a fairly new fleet of 420s. We've got 24 new boats, and then we also have some of the older boats that we used to use. So we've got 36 boats that we had out on the water every day for practice last fall. We have enough kids in the program this spring that we're going to be closer to 30 boats on the water for practice. We have a fleet of J22s. We have 12 to 14 J22s, depending on how you like to count them. And those will be launched mid-May. Those really get sailed a lot more in the fall, but hopefully we'll be able to get some kids some keelboat experience towards the end of the season here. As I was talking about with the practices, we have combined practices, so we get to work with other teams. It's not just Falmouth out there at their own location sailing alone, just against each other all the time. So having the combined practices with the different teams is super helpful. The sense of community is huge. I mean, we're hosting regattas every weekend. We run things like this where we have the whole program together. It's not just individual teams out there. So I think there's definitely a lot of pride for individual teams, but I think the SailMaine program as a whole. Like I said, the weekly regattas. So a lot of other venues will run maybe one regatta a season, maybe one regatta every few years. So we're running every Saturday, every Sunday for the whole month of September, the whole month of October, and in the spring, every week that we run programming in the spring. So lots of regatta opportunities. We open the doors to middle schoolers, so we've got tons of 7th and 8th graders that come out and sail with us. The dev team has grown exponentially in the last few years, so much so that we have 2 dedicated coaches for that group now, season after season. So it's a really great feeder program, and I think is going to really help the strength of the high school teams in the future. And no cuts. So it doesn't matter what your sailing experience is, you're allowed to come out and join the team. And yeah, we have some sailors that are focused on going to national championships, and other sailors that just want to come out and learn how to sail. So it's a pretty fun mix.
All right, I think it's back to me. I'm sure we are all kind of getting used to slides and organizations talking about COVID-19 procedures. So we're kind of just starting with like, how do we figure this stuff out? We rely on other organizations a lot to help us make these decisions. We're governed by a few things. The Maine Department of Economic and Community Development, they put out guidelines. We feel like we fall under the community sports activity. You can see that was just recently updated. The Maine and US CDC, US Sailing is another source for us in terms of building policy. Northeast Sailing Association, there are meetings, quarterly, monthly, where we get together with other programs and discuss what's working well and what's not working well. And then we also got to see what worked for us in the past. We're making a few changes from that, but felt like we ran a fairly safe and successful program in 2020. So those are all the kind of factors and guidance and people that we have to follow rules from. So particulars, this looks really like the fall. If you sailed in the fall, this is very similar. Parents will receive a Google form survey, basically asking to fill out some questions about health screening. That happens daily. Bill reviews those. You're required to wear a face covering from entering SailMaine, when you're inside the gate, on the dock, in the bathroom, in the changing room, under a tent, in a boat, on a power boat, on the water, pretty much everywhere. I can't think of one exception to that requirement. In the past, this is one change. We did allow buffs or gaiters, and we even gave you those. But this year we're going to be providing more of like a mask style face covering, and we're not going to allow buffs to be used as face coverings while at SailMaine. And the 2 reasons for that: everybody was working so hard at it last year, and I think the one flaw we saw was just that they would fall down too easily, and that just made it difficult for people to comply with the rule, and that just is frustrating for everybody when you're trying to do your best, but you still can't do it because the gear is failing. And then the second piece is that other schools have done it and reported to us that it worked really well. Tabor Academy being one of them, they had a lot of positive feedback on using a different type of face covering, and we're real believers that if Tabor can do it, then we can do it too. So there's nothing that those prep schools can do that we can't do. So that's the reasoning behind that, and we've got some free ones to give away, and we'll have extras in the office if something goes wrong. So hand sanitizing when you come in, and there'll be lots of hand sanitizing stations, pairing pods, and limited people that you sail with. Your coaches will kind of make this work at the beginning of the season. They did it last year. Allows you to focus on working with just 1 or 2 people for the whole year. Boat assignments. So, each team gets certain boats. You're not switching between boats every day. Team stations on land. You probably, again, come in, we'll have a whiteboard at the entrance, kind of making sure you know where to go. there'll be a routine to this. So, every Monday, Cape will be under the big tent. I'm just doing an example. And every Wednesday, they'll be maybe in the picnic tables near 4 points. But we'll have that posted every time. And just go to your stations. We're just trying to limit mixing of teams. Limited travel, that's changing pretty quickly. So we're just putting a bullet point that travel will be limited there. Again, as the CDC guidelines change, will change. We're limited to a group size of 100 people at SailMaine. So that doesn't really impact much except for weekend events. So in the past, we have not had, last fall, we didn't allow family into the facility during weekend events, and that will be the case again, just so we don't get up against this 100-person limit. And there's lots of great places to watch the sailing from. There's a beautiful park right next to us now. I would strongly recommend the Eastern Prom. Fort Allen Park is a great place to watch. And if you have questions about other ways to watch, just let me know. We're not providing food at Regattas, and obviously maintain physical distancing whenever possible. So really the time we think that it's not possible is when you're sailing in a 420 together. So pretty much all other times. So procedures for exposure, or if you were exhibiting symptoms, this is going to be basically what we did in the fall. We're going to email out the details to this. It's there's a bunch to it, and we're still kind of tweaking it a little bit, but we're following all Maine CDC guidelines. It's going to look similar to school policies and practices, and we'll email you these details next week.
Great, thanks, Michael. So now, just getting back into some regular old classic SailMaine things. Just talking about the culture at SailMaine and just kind of the expectations that we have for our sailors. So a quote that we really like is, "You haven't won the race if in winning the race you have lost the respect of your competitors." So I totally understand that things can get a little heated out on the race course, and people get into it. People get excited. People like to, I don't know, tempers flare. But at the end of the day, you just need to make sure that everybody's friends. You're talking to your teammates. You're talking to people on the other teams afterwards, thanking your coaches and the people running the regattas. So yeah, just make sure that you're out there just having fun. One of the biggest things about the sailing season is that it's super short. We only meet 3 times a week. Sometimes in the spring, practice gets canceled due to weather, and there's different things. So just really take advantage of the time that you have. And one of the ways to do that is making sure that you're on time and ready to sail. As soon as you get to SailMaine, just be ready to go. I think, especially with the way we have things set up right now, I think just mentally, like as soon as you get inside the gate, you just need to be focused and ready. We also understand that high schoolers are incredibly busy. You guys do tons of activities. You've got homework, you've got school projects, you've got a lot of things that are going on, SATs, different driver's ed, all kinds of things. So we get that, but there's nothing more frustrating for a coach than to make a plan and have pairings ready to go, especially the way we're setting things up with COVID, and then somebody just not showing up. So, or coming late without telling you. So if you do have other obligations, just make sure you communicate with your coach so they can make a plan. We're able to accommodate if you come a little late or you need to leave a little early, but just knowing ahead of time is really, really helpful. Respect all competitors at SailMaine. So we, as a SailMaine community, it's great to respect each other. In the fall, it was just SailMaine teams that were out there sailing against each other, so that was kind of easy. But usually we have people coming from away, and it's very possible that we'll have teams coming from at least other parts of Maine this spring. I've been in contact with the Booth Bay coach, and I think Camden and Rockland. There's a couple of mid-coast schools that are interested in coming down, and so we're really hopeful that we'll be able to do that, assuming that that's still going to stay within the main CDC guidelines. So just making sure that those teams that are traveling to SailMaine are leaving wanting to come back for more. We want everyone to have a positive experience when they come. And one of the ways to do that is to respect our space. So we've got kind of a funky spot down on the water, but be proud of our facility. What we have is the best that we have. And so if you are taking care of our things, then it's that much better. It's yours. I think just having some ownership and taking ownership over the facility goes a long way. And I know personally, I've seen that change. I've seen that culture change over the last 4 or 5 years. And I think you guys should all just be, all the sailors that have been here for a long time should be really proud of the way we're keeping the facility right now. So every team has a chore at the end of the day. It's just a little thing to kind of make sure the sail shed's put away correctly, the trash is taken out, the boats are looking good. So we're in a very public space and people can see exactly what goes on at SailMaine. So it's nice to be proud of the facility we have. Regattas sailing it's a crazy sport, right? Like you've got a couple people that are sailing. You might be on shore waiting for your turn. There's different sets. There's different people sailing against people at different times. But make sure that you're supporting your team. If you're on land and your sailors are out on the water, make sure that you're there for them and you're helping them de-rig the boats at the end of the day, even if you were the one who rigged the boat at the beginning of the day. So if you're coming to a regatta, make sure you're there for the whole thing. Don't just take off early just because you know that might not be sailing anymore that day. And we're working super hard to make sure that we have a safe facility and we're able to provide an opportunity for you guys to sail. This has been a tough year for everybody. I'm sure everybody knows that, but just being mindful and respectful of the COVID procedures that we have in place. I know some of them can be challenging. I know it's not that fun to sail with a mask on, but we're not doing it because we don't like you. We're doing it because we want to keep you safe and we want everybody to be able to keep sailing. And just, yeah, so please just be mindful and respectful of the procedures that we have in place.
Bill, I love that. I loved your vibe on this stuff, because I think you highlight that, like, in general, I think there's a real positive culture at SailMaine in terms of doing all these things. I think just having done the history slide and having been around during that time, there were some pretty big events and incidents that, like, I'm just so happy aren't happening now. That's like very, very different than it was in 2003, 2004, and how the facility was treated, how people treated each other. So I think I'm really thankful to be part of this group, and I think we've just got a really good group of kids here, and I think it's partly because of your positive attitude about just being respectful to each other. So this isn't meant to be a negative conversation, really, and you didn't carry it like that at all. And I think it's most of the people do, and really everybody does a really, really good job with this stuff.
Yeah, well, it's all about the kids. Yeah, just making it happen.
Oh, I get this one. This is mine, right?
Yeah.
This is mine. This is the ISSA and NESSA slide, not to be confused with a game of Risk. This is not a opportunity to play a short game of Risk. This is ISSA and NESSA are the governing bodies for high school sailing. ISSA is the governing body for the entire country, and NESSA is New England Scholastic Sailing Schools. So you can see there are 7 regions, and I think the next slide has more details that can help me through, if you don't mind. Yeah, so 7 districts, and one of them is NESSA. The districts all compete, and in this year is a little different, but they have districts to kind of figure out who goes to nationals. So the top 3 in team racing and top 4 in fleet racing, or whatever it is, go to nationals, and there are other kind of ladder event championships that come out of those districts. So the districts help kind of like manage regattas in their area too and promote sailing. So there are a few NESSA teams at SailMaine, Cape Elizabeth, Cheverus, Falmouth, Greeley, Portland, and Yarmouth. And an example of a non-NESSA team is Southern Maine. It's a conglomerate team. They can go to a lot of the events, but basically they couldn't be scored to go to a national championship. So they get to do basically everything with that one exception. And Bill is now the representative for it's Northern New England. Is that your official title in the NESSA world?
I guess so. Yeah.
So you're the tell me just 1 second. You're the Northern New England, what is it, regatta man?
They haven't given me a card yet. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But no, it's great to check in with the coaches from around New England and kind of hear like how that group is trying to manage what's going on. Just trying to run some national events. Obviously, things are changing all over the place. What's happening here in Maine is a lot different than what's happening in Massachusetts and Connecticut and Florida and California and all these different places. So basically, I was in a meeting last night where they were talking about what they were planning to do for the spring, and there's still no real consensus on what. There's still a lot of brainstorming going on. So hopefully we'll have a little more clarity. The information I heard last night did change the schedule that I had put together for this spring. So I think when we get to the regatta schedule, that's I just think it was a nice reminder last night that we still need to be flexible and things are subject to change and that everybody is just doing the best that they can. And I think we are super lucky at SailMaine to be able to run the program that we can without being, I don't want to say at the mercy, but a lot of these people, they can't go sailing because their athletic director says that they can't. They're just like, they're being lumped into these other sports. So I think we're lucky to be able to run the club sports that we do. Yeah, and that we're different from Maine Principals Association. I'm sure you've been hearing a lot about school sports this year and like what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do and all kinds of different things. So yeah, I could go on and on and on.
Well, I think that one of the key points is that it's still in flux, and that you're in those meetings where the decisions are being made, and we'll get quick updates and know what's happening. And so thanks for being part of that.
All right, so just back to some general regatta stuff at SailMaine. So again, giving your coach your availability as soon as possible. So if coaches are thinking about pairings for the weekends, they just need to know if they can count on you to be there or not. Again, nothing more frustrating for a coach than to show up to a regatta thinking that you have some sailors that are going to be there and they aren't for some reason, or to even wake up that morning and find out that some sailors aren't going to be there. We all need to be flexible this year, but we also are doing our best to plan ahead. So not all sailors race every weekend, but that's something that we've really been trying to change. This is the first year that we're offering Sunday regattas for the spring. We used to only do the Sunday series in the fall. So this year it's going to be a little different. It won't be a Sunday series, but we will be running Sunday regattas. Every other week basically is going to be a fleet race or a team race. So this will give some of our newer sailors or sailors that aren't quite ready to be sailing on Saturdays a chance to get some regatta experience, either fleet racing or team racing. As Michael was saying earlier, we have limited numbers at the facility, so we unfortunately can't have family members coming on. And if you aren't sailing that day, I guess we are allowed to have some alternates, but we can't have people just coming and hanging out at SailMaine. It really just needs to be there for the event. Again, make sure that you're staying there for the whole day. So we usually end the regattas on Saturday around 4 o'clock and around 3 o'clock on Sundays. In the spring, it's mostly team racing. So basically every Saturday will be a team race. And then Sundays, we're going to do every other fleet racing and team racing. Basically, all of our events are going to be at SailMaine. It's possible that we might be able to do some travel, but again, we're just going to have to wait and see. In former seasons, there was, depending on what team you were on, some would travel all the time. So, or some would travel maybe just once or twice or whatever. But I think, again, we're going to be running a ton of events right here in Portland. The ranking system is going to be a little different than it was in the past. So that's something that I guess I can talk to the coaches with. We don't really need to get into that right now. And then the high school code of conduct is something that everybody has signed up on by registering for the season. So parents, if you just quickly click through that as you were registering your sailor, might be a good opportunity to go back through and just kind of go through some of that stuff with you, with your kids. And that's something that we usually do during the first week too, is either Michael or myself will go around to the different teams and just kind of give some reminders of the high school code of conduct. But again, much less worried about that than maybe we have been in the past.
Bill, there's a couple of questions in the chat. I don't know if you want to grab those now or get them at the end.
Let's see. So Karen, the Maine Maritime Regatta, I have not heard officially. I would be surprised if it does. I know that's a huge bummer, and maybe they're waiting a little bit longer to see if things open up. But I think the idea of bringing students from all over Maine to stay in a dorm together in Castine sounds logistically challenging to me, but it's possible. Who knows what May is going to look like. What time do sailors need to be at the facility on regatta days? We send out NORs for this, so notice of race that has information about everything. I believe that we'll have report time is usually 9. Sometimes we do report time at 10 on Sundays. So I'll confirm that. Well, I think we'll have a coaches meeting and just kind of have everybody weigh in, but usually 9 or 10 o'clock. And yeah, we're out of there by 3 or 4 o'clock. The thing that's tricky about regatta planning, and I know this can be frustrating for parents who have to give their kids rides, but we're kind of just at the mercy of the weather a lot of the time. So if it's like a beautiful bluebird day blowing 10 to 12 knots out of the same wind direction all day, pretty easy to crank off a lot of races, but that is very rarely the case. So often we're waiting for the wind to fill in, or we're dealing with wind shifts, so we have to reset the course, or there's it's maybe too windy for some races. So every day is a little different, which is kind of what's so fun about sailing, but can be a little tricky for planning purposes. The code of conduct page, I guess I'm not sure about how to go back to it. I've never tried to go back to it, but I think in your parent portal, you should be able to open up and look at all the waivers that you filled out. And Chris Straw, will spring regattas be NESSA sanctioned? In particular, will the 8th graders be able to sail on Saturdays where applicable? So that's a great question, Chris. And we at SailMaine are able to run regattas kind of without having to pay attention to all of the NESSA rules. The one he's referring to be an official NESSA team, you need to be from the same school and from 9th grade to 12th grade. So that's where it gets a little tricky with all the middle school sailors that we have. For team racing, the ranking system is going to be a lot less strict than it was in the past, just because people aren't allowed to travel as much. So strength of schedule is all thrown off. So the short answer is, if you have a strong 8th grader on your team, yes, that will be a coach's decision if they'll be sailing on Saturday. SailMaine will not be preventing them from sailing on Saturday. All right, so now getting into the regatta schedule. So every team hosts a regatta, and it used to be a really fun event. I think it was pretty fun for the parents to come down and help out, and we would have different barbecues. Chris, who just, yeah, I remember Chris Bream having a huge slab of salmon one time, grilling that up. The Falmouth team used to bring in a minibus, and they were flipping sausages and having breakfast sandwiches for everybody. Like, there was almost a competition between the different teams who could have the best food. But unfortunately, that's not the case anymore. So really, who's hosting every regatta now is more about the coach running the event. The kids show up a little early, make sure that the boats are rigged for everybody else. But the weekends are pretty similar here. So we're doing team races on the Saturdays, basically every other week with team and fleet races. Last night, I just found out we were going to be hosting the O-Day qualifier on May 8th, but that is no longer the case. So I need to check in with the Southern Maine team about that. They might be moved to the weekend of May 8th. They had originally been scheduled to do the 22nd, and SailMaine might be hosting a different event on the weekend of the 22nd. So the simplest way to think about this is that we're going to start regattas the weekend of April 3rd. So we'll sail for a little bit before we're getting out on the weekend. We will be doing a regatta the first weekend of April break, but we probably will not be doing one the second weekend of April break, and then throughout the month of May. So we do have to cancel practice every once in a while, unfortunately, and it's honestly a little easier to make this call in the spring than it is in the fall. So we have the 20, 30, 40 rule. Thunder and lightning doesn't really come into play too much in the spring. But if any two of these three things are happening, then we just automatically cancel practice. So if the water temperature is below 40 degrees, that checks a box. If the air temperature is below 30 degrees, that checks a box. Or if the wind is blowing more than 20 miles per hour, 2 out of those 3 things, we will not be sailing. So I really like to wait as long as I really can before making that call, because Maine weather changes all the time. So if I wake up at 8 o'clock and it looks like it's going to be kind of nasty in the afternoon, often by the time practice starts at 3 o'clock, it's a beautiful day. And sometimes the other way around. You can wake up and it's looking nice, and then things start to get kind of hairy after lunch. So we send out word by 1 p.m. We email everybody. We post it on social media. We tell coaches who can text their kids or however they're communicating with their sailors. So we definitely get the word out as easily as we can. Yeah, we try to tell everybody. This is just some general information about who to contact. So your coach, you should be talking to about practices, about regattas, and about any sailor-related questions. Your parent coordinator, the people that you saw up on the screen earlier, they can help out with carpools. I know this is a little tricky in the COVID world, but often teams will do like team dinners throughout the season, or just some kind of team event. Definitely people usually get together at the end of the season. So parent coordinators help with that. And then just any school info. So if there's anything that how your team directly is related to your school, that kind of differs from team to team. And then the SailMaine office, which includes Jordan Parks and myself and Michael and even Sam and Alicia. So any administrative issues or general problem questions basically can come straight to me. But if you can't get a hold of me, or you're looking for anybody else, I guess you can go to other people in the office. Michael, I think this is your favorite thing to talk about.
Yeah, this is my favorite, parking. If it's not parking, it's pilings. So parking is a little bit of I think Bill and I decided the phrase was choose your own adventure for parking. And just to be clear, SailMaine does not have any parking spots. There's one spot that will say have a SailMaine tag on it in the new lot there, and that is for staff, not for participants. That's for the truck or staff. So please don't park there. The other thing about parking is please do not block the bike path that comes by SailMaine. We're really fortunate to be on a piece of city property for basically free, and there are some things they don't want us to do, and having participants block the bike path that people travel on is one of them. So please don't park in that bike path. Also, please don't park in the turnaround space there. The city specifically built that out for us to enable like clear and easy transportation through the area. So if you park there and block that, then people can't come and turn around that are just using the park besides us. So the choose your own adventure part of it is that you can choose to park for free and unlimited time, kind of up near that, you're looking at a drone photo here, up near that concrete, like big ugly building on the Eastern Prom. There's a bunch of free parking up there. I've lived there and I've walked down many times and even timed it, just a brisk walk, normal pace. That's a 8.5 minute walk down. So just factor that into, getting there on time. You can also kind of choose to risk getting a ticket in the 30-minute parking spots or 1 hour parking spots near in the park. And then there's some metered spots on Thames Street. And then there's also paid parking down the road. We've asked for discounts at paid parking lots. It's just so competitive. It's not really available. And it's not my favorite thing that we don't have this, but also it's just the reality of being a sailing community sailing center in an urban environment. I sail a bunch at places like Courageous in Boston, and it's $15 to park there, and parking is an issue kind of everywhere. So that's just the parking scenario. I wish it wasn't the case, but that's what it is. Did I miss anything, Bill?
I think that was pretty good.
Yeah. So, other programs. This is also me. So SailMaine is a community boating center, nonprofit. We do a lot of other things besides high school sailing, although high school sailing has been a cornerstone program for us and one of the longest running things, and really is like a key part of what we do. But we do a number of community programs. Our City Sailors program is the grant-funded program that focuses on providing free sailing to schools with high free or reduced lunch programs. We run an adaptive program that helps sailors with all types of needs to get out on the water. It ranges from we've got a guy that's quadriplegic, and we use a hydraulic ram system that goes to the tiller, and he can steer just by moving his fingers a little bit with a joystick. A lot of visually impaired sailors and people with cognitive impairments as well. We host the Special Olympics weekly in the summer. We do adult learn to sail and rental programs. Many of you know about our summer race programs. We run 2 satellite programs, one in Belgrade Lakes and Centerboard Yacht Club. Rip Van Winkle is this catamaran you can see in the photo here. We do some community outreach programs on that. We worked with groups, families of New Mainers in particular. Last year was a new program we started running. We also partner with places like Portland Community Squash and Boys and Girls Club to run programs for them. We run charters. We got a new program that just Alicia can touch base in a minute, that we did one program for the Monhegan Island race, and I think we're gonna have 3 boats this year. But all this stuff is requires fundraising. So if you, many of you already contribute to SailMaine, but if you are interested in getting involved in the fundraising or have ideas, please reach out to me directly. Always happy to chat, and this couldn't happen without a lot of support from our community, and we're really thankful for that. And we just gotta keep it going. So I don't know, Alicia, do you wanna kind of let us all know about the Monhegan Island race program this summer?
Yeah, thank you, Michael. So I just wanted to, I'm gonna turn a light on. I can't tell. There we go. Here I am. Okay, hey, thanks, Michael and Bill. I just wanted to talk a little bit about what we're offering this year. As many of you guys know, last year, 2020, Michael, Wendy Jordan, and myself ran a junior program on the DASCAT in the offshore Monhegan race. This year, we're really excited to announce that we're actually offering 3 boats, 2 junior boats on the Figaros, which are Beneteaus, and they're 30 feet long. And then we're also offering 1 adult program on the DASCAT, which is the catamaran. So we are looking for 8 junior sailors. And then in addition to that, we're looking for 6 adult sailors. We are gonna start training on July 5th, which will run until the race. And the race dates are August 6th and 7th. Our practice schedule, our training schedule, quick overview is Monday nights and Saturday and Sunday. And then we also are offering an online safety at sea course. Talk in greater detail about that. So how do you apply? If you are a junior sailor that's excited about this, just 1 page of why you want to join the team and what you will bring to the team. If you're an adult sailor, just reach out directly to me. All right, so why should you do this? You should do it because the sailors are going to develop offshore safety skills, navigation skills, electronics, boat handling, weather, tactics and strategy, weather and communication, teamwork, and leadership. So I can't say enough about how excited I am that we're offering 2 junior boats and 1 adult boat. If you're interested and you want to know more, you should just reach out directly to me at awitham@sailmaine.org. And the adults are filling up quickly. So all of you parents out there that think that you want to go sailing this summer and join this race team, you should just connect with me. And juniors, I'm happy for you to reach out to me directly as well. That's what I got, you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Alicia.
Sure.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to, you can reach out to me too, and I'll just forward it right along to Alicia. And I'm sure same with Michael. So yeah, however we can get that info to her is great. And Michael, great, just put her email in the chat there for everybody. And so finally, a few years ago, I guess 2 years ago at the end of the presentation, I was looking through some of these presentations and realized that I had announced my puppy, and I was getting a puppy, Aria, which many of you are familiar with and probably will be again this spring. But in November, my wife had a daughter, Ava Ruth Marshall was born on November 14th, right after the season. She has literally been waiting her entire life to get out on the water. So she's excited to see everybody this spring. And just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, if anyone has any questions or anything else, feel free to shoot me an email. I'm happy to reach out with anyone or reach out to anyone directly. This recording will be shared, so I'll make sure that link gets out to everybody by the end of the week, so you can send it to anyone that you know wasn't able to come tonight. Michael, any final remarks?
Is that Mobile got like knots on, like, does it have a nautical theme? Like, does it have knots or like situations? It's got team race situations dangling in front of her right there.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. She's training, she's practicing.
She's in the background of the Dave Perry sessions.
That's right, yeah, she's tied bowlines to each of these rings. Great.
That's That's awesome. No, I don't know if, I think people just asked questions during the presentation in the chat, but yeah, that's it. I'm excited. I'm so happy that we're going to be back on the water. In one of our recent board meetings, we were talking about some of our, favorite programs or why we love SailMaine and stuff like that. And I just was mentioning the spring season because I think everybody that's sailing this spring season really wants to be out there. It's going to be cold, but that's part of the adventure of it. And yeah, I really appreciate everybody that comes out in the spring because I know you want to be there.
Awesome. Well, look at that. Just under an hour. That's pretty good, Michael. I think we've done this before.
Yeah, right.